All right. Welcome to another narration of mine. Settle in for a moment. This is where the voices I carry meet the version of the truth most people avoid, and where the things we uncover tend to stay with us long after the story ends. Only the brave souls and the fearless ones stay until the end. All right, so before I even start this, I just want to say, this is not one of those bullshit, I found a haunted doll stories, or some my house has ghosts, and they whispered my name at 3 a.m. type crap. What happened to me and my family is real. It's brutal, it's graphic, and I honestly still don't believe half of it myself. But I need to get it out. I need someone, anyone, to hear this, because I can't live with this rotting inside me anymore. This all started about 7 months ago, when I got a call from my Uncle Ron. I hadn't talked to him in years. My mom and him weren't on speaking terms. Something happened when they were kids, something she never told me. He said my mom had passed away, died in a fire. That's all he told me on the phone. Just those words in a dry, emotionless tone, like he was reading a fucking weather report. Your mom's dead. The cabin caught fire. She didn't make it. Now, the weird part? I hadn't seen my mom in almost a year. She left out of nowhere, just packed her bags and disappeared like a ghost. No note, no texts, nothing. I filed a missing persons report and everything. Cops didn't find shit. She just vanished. And now, suddenly, I'm being told she's dead? In a cabin I never even knew existed? So, obviously, I needed answers. Uncle Ron told me to come out to the property, which was about 4 hours from where I live in northern Pennsylvania, deep in the woods. I took a couple days off work and drove out there. Didn't tell my girlfriend where I was going. Honestly, I didn't want to drag her into this. I remember pulling up to the place around 6 p.m. The sun was starting to set, and the trees were casting these long-ass shadows over everything. The cabin was weirdly intact for something that had supposedly burned down. The roof was partially collapsed, but the walls were still standing, smoke-stained, blackened windows, charred wood. But it wasn't like it had gone up in a full blaze. It looked more like it had been set on fire, like someone tried to destroy it, but failed. Ron met me out front. He looked old, like a lot older than he should have. I remember thinking he looked like he hadn't slept in weeks. Pale skin, sunken eyes, thin as hell. He barely said anything, just nodded and pointed toward the front door. Then he handed me this key on a chain and said, "She kept everything in the basement. You should see it." Now here's the thing. My mom? She was a school teacher. She wore cardigans, loved cats, used to make me peanut butter and banana sandwiches, and watch reruns of Golden Girls. She was normal. The kind of person who made little to-do lists and left sticky notes on the fridge. She wasn't the type of woman to keep things in the basement of a burnt-down cabin in the middle of nowhere. So obviously, I was freaked out. But curiosity's a bitch, right? The inside of the cabin smelled like old smoke and rotting wood. There were scorched bookshelves, burned photographs on the wall, a melted TV, and this disgusting brown mattress on the floor. Looked like someone had pissed all over it. Or worse. The air was heavy, like I was breathing through wet cloth. I could hear flies buzzing in the back somewhere. I found the basement door behind a broken shelf. The lock was rusted, but still usable with the key Ron gave me. The stairs going down were covered in ash and broken glass. I had to use the flashlight on my phone just to see. And I'm not exaggerating when I say I almost threw up the second I opened the door. The smell coming from down there, it was like burnt hair, piss, shit, and something else I couldn't place. Something wrong. The basement was full of melted candles. Hundreds of them. Red ones, black ones. Some were stuck to the walls like they had been thrown or exploded. There were weird symbols painted on the floor in what looked like dried blood. Circles, triangles, a goat's head. Classic horror movie bullshit, but real. And the worst part? There was a table in the middle of the room. Not a dinner table, not a desk, a surgical table, rusted, covered in dark stains, straps on each corner, a bone saw lying on the floor next to it, and in the corner of the room, there was a wooden box, maybe the size of a large shoebox, wrapped in this gross, crusty cloth and tied with twine. I don't know why I opened it. I should have just turned around and left right then, but I didn't. I was shaking, but I untied the twine and unwrapped the cloth. Inside were a bunch of old, yellowed photographs, dozens of them. Some were stuck together with something sticky. Others were warped from heat. They were all of my mom. At first, just normal stuff. Her at a picnic, her smiling in front of the house, her holding me as a baby. Then they started getting fucked up. One photo showed her standing naked in the woods, surrounded by people in black robes. Her eyes were wide open, mouth taped shut. Another one had her tied to a tree, symbols carved into her skin. Real carvings, not Photoshop. You could see the blood. Her face looked swollen, like she'd been beaten. And then, there were the videos. Yes, videos. In the box was a USB drive sealed in a little baggie, like evidence. I don't know what kind of sick part of me decided to watch them, but I brought my laptop to the car, locked the doors, and plugged it in. The folder was just called Offering. I opened the first file. No intro, no sound. Just shaky handheld footage. Someone filming my mom in the basement. She was strapped to the table, eyes wide, breathing fast, crying. There were 3 people in robes around her. One of them had a pig mask on. Another one wore what looked like a deer skull. The last one was shirtless, just covered in scars. They were chanting, but you couldn't hear anything. One of them started cutting her. Slow, deliberate, lines across her chest, her thighs. Blood soaked the table. She kept screaming. At least her mouth was moving like she was. One of the men pulled something out of a bag. It was a baby, or at least what was left of one. I slammed my laptop shut. I wish I could unsee that. I wish I never went into that basement. I didn't sleep that night. I stayed in my car, locked all the doors, just watching the woods. I kept hearing things. Branches snapping, whispering, something moving behind the trees. I swear I saw shadows that didn't belong there. And I haven't even told you the worst part yet. The next morning, I went back to the cabin to confront Ron. He was sitting in the kitchen, just staring at the wall like a corpse. I told him everything, screamed at him, demanded answers. You know what he said? She wanted it. I asked him what the hell he meant. He told me that my mom joined some group when she was in her 20s. A cult. They worshipped something called the Hollow One. She left it when she had me, tried to run, but they found her, said she had to pay for betraying them. She gave herself back, he said. She offered her body, her soul. That's why the fire didn't kill her right away. That's when I realized Ron was one of them. I didn't wait. I got the hell out, drove home, burned the USB. But I can't stop thinking about it. I can't sleep. I keep seeing her face, her eyes. And last night, I found a note on my doorstep. No return address, no handwriting. Just one sentence. The Hollow One knows you watched. So after I got back home from the cabin, everything should have stopped. I burned the USB. I blocked Ron's number. I even smashed my phone and got a new one just in case. New number, new account. I tried to just move on. But shit didn't move on. If anything, it got worse. 3 days after I got back, I started hearing knocking. Not normal knocking, like you'd expect from a neighbor or something. This was inside. From inside the walls. Like knuckles, tapping slow and steady. Almost like Morse code. Always late at night. Around 3 a.m. Always in threes. First night, I thought maybe it was just pipes. Maybe the house was settling. You tell yourself that kind of stuff when your brain's trying not to melt. But then the tapping started following me. First, it was behind my bedroom wall. Then, by the kitchen. Then in the fucking bathroom, while I was brushing my teeth. That was the first night I locked myself in my car to sleep. But the real break came a week later. I was watching TV, some mindless crap to distract myself, and I started smelling it again. That same smell from the cabin basement. Burnt hair, rotting meat, piss. Something sharp and metallic, like old blood. Just wrong. I tore through the house looking for the source. Nothing in the fridge, nothing in the trash. I even checked the crawl space. It was just there, hanging in the air like it had always been there, and I just hadn't noticed until now. Then came the scratching. This part still fucks with my head. I swear I'm not making this up. I was lying in bed, just frozen, staring at the ceiling when I heard it. Scratch. 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 Slow. Purposeful. Like someone dragging a nail across drywall. Then a pause. Then again. And this time, I could tell exactly where it was coming from. Inside my closet. I sat up. I didn't want to move. I didn't want to even look at the closet door, but it was cracked open. I swear to God, I always shut it, but it was cracked just enough to see total darkness inside. And then, something moved. I don't mean I saw a hand, or a face, or anything like that. I mean the darkness itself shifted. It got darker, like the shadows folded inward and started to breathe. I don't know how else to explain it. And then, from inside, I heard a whisper. She screamed for you. My heart just stopped. I don't remember grabbing my keys. I don't remember putting on shoes. I was just suddenly in my car, bare feet, speeding down the highway, like I was on fire. I didn't go to a hotel. I didn't go to a friend's place. I went to a Walmart parking lot, parked in the corner, and cried until sunrise. For the next 2 weeks, I barely slept. I started seeing things out the corner of my eye, black shapes, pale faces, my mom's face in the mirror when I was brushing my teeth. Her mouth was open, screaming, but no sound came out. Every night, I'd wake up at exactly 3:13 a.m. Every night, the knocking would start again. And then came the phone calls, not on my cell. I had destroyed that. Remember? These came through my laptop. I was doing a Zoom call for work when I got a notification. Unknown user trying to initiate a call. I ignored it. Then another. Then another. 15, back to back. I finally caved and accepted one. It was just static. Then a single frame flashed. Just one. It was a picture of me sleeping. In my bed. From the foot of the mattress, I was facing away, and in the corner of the frame, crouched on the ceiling, like some kind of animal, was him. I recognized the mask. The pig mask. The one from the video. But this wasn't a video. This was last night. Same sheets, same clothes, same bruise on my arm from when I hit the dresser the day before. They were in my house. I bought a hotel room that night. Didn't sleep. Just sat in the bathtub with a knife, waiting for something to crawl out of the drain or come through the damn air vent. And around 4 a.m., I heard my phone buzz on the counter. It was an airdrop from H. Wells L. Guest. One file. A video. I watched it. I shouldn't have. It was my mom. Not from before. not the same old videos. This one was new. She was tied to the same table in the basement. Her body looked wrong. Bloated. Eyes gone. Her skin was gray, like she'd been dead for weeks. But she was moving, breathing. Her head slowly turned toward the camera. Her jaw cracked open. And in a voice I swear didn't belong to her, I heard, "You brought him back." I dropped the phone, threw it across the room. It started ringing on its own, just ringing and ringing. I didn't answer. I couldn't. The screen flashed again. One last message before it went black. Check your attic. I didn't want to, but I had to. The next morning, I went back to my house. The place smelled like sulfur. Every picture on the wall was turned upside down. My cat was dead, curled up in the sink like it just gave up. No wounds, no blood, just dead. I grabbed a flashlight and pulled down the attic stairs. I didn't even have to climb all the way up. The smell hit me like a punch in the teeth. There was a small wooden box up there, same kind of box that was in the basement of the cabin. This one had something carved on top. It said, "For him." Inside was a photograph of me, standing in front of the cabin, holding the box, smiling. But I don't remember ever smiling. I don't even remember that picture being taken. And I sure as hell wasn't alone in the photo. Behind me, standing in the shadows of the tree line, was a figure. Tall, naked, skin stretched too tight. And his face wasn't a face, just a hole, a mouth, smiling. I didn't go back to the hotel after I found the ba in the attic. I didn't sleep. I didn't eat. I just sat on the floor of my hallway for hours, staring at the photo in my hands. That smile stretched across my face like I'd never seen it before. Like it didn't even belong to me. I've never smiled like that. Ever. Not in years. Not since she left. And the thing behind me? That wasn't human. I'm done pretending it was. I couldn't even process what I was looking at. Just this stretched, thin, pale shape standing way too tall to be a person. And the worst part? I zoomed in. Its arms were around me, like it was hugging me from behind. But I didn't feel anything that day at the cabin. Nothing. No cold chill, no breath, no presence. So how the hell did I not notice that thing touching me? I should have called someone. I should have driven straight to the police, or a priest, or a fucking mental hospital. But instead, I stayed. I know how that sounds. But when you see shit like this, when it happens to you, your brain stops working the way it's supposed to. You tell yourself it's all in your head, because that's easier than admitting something unnatural has latched onto your life like a leech. It was around 2 a.m. when the walls started bleeding. And I know what you're thinking. That sounds fake as hell. but I swear on what's left of my mom's memory. I'm not exaggerating. I was in the kitchen, pouring whiskey straight into my mouth, when I heard this thick, wet drip hit the tile behind me. Drip, drip, drip. Turned around and saw it. This black sludge leaking from the cracks in the ceiling. It wasn't red. It wasn't paint. It looked like tar mixed with motor oil and something else that smelled like rotten eggs. I touched it without thinking, and my fingers went numb. Then I looked up and saw the streaks spreading, slow at first, then running down like veins, covering every wall in the kitchen. I backed out into the hallway, and that's when I heard it again. The whispering. Not from inside my head, not from the closet this time. This was coming from the vents, like a choir of voices, all whispering in different tones. Kids, old people, women, all saying the same thing in a rhythm I'll never forget. It's your turn now. It's your turn now. It's your turn now. I ran into the bathroom, locked the door, and just started screaming into a towel until I almost passed out. When I finally calmed down, everything was dead silent. No more whispers, no more black sludge. But there was something new, something that didn't belong. A tooth. Right there, on the bathroom sink. A human molar, cracked and yellowed, sitting in a small pool of black liquid. I didn't touch it. I flushed it. I didn't want to know whose it was or how it got there. That night, I tried something desperate. I logged into my mom's old email. She had an AOL account. Real boomer stuff. I guessed the password on my third try. It was my birthday. Figures. There was barely anything in the inbox. Just a few old work emails and Facebook notifications. But the sent folder? That's where I found the rabbit hole. She'd been emailing someone under the name Blackroot33. All the emails were fragmented. No subjects. Half of them just said weird, cryptic shit like, "It's coming back." I heard him in the floorboards again. Ron is feeding it. And then the last one she ever sent, dated 3 days before she disappeared. If my son ever finds this, don't trust what you see. Don't trust me. I'm not me anymore. It's wearing my skin. Please burn what's in the basement and never look inside the mirror after dark. He lives between reflections. He's always watching. That's when I realized something that made my stomach flip inside out. I had a full body mirror in my bedroom, and it faced my bed. I hadn't even thought about it in days. Hell, I hadn't been sleeping in my bedroom at all. I'd been crashing on the couch or in my car, avoiding that whole side of the house like it was cursed. But now, I had to check it. I don't know why. Curiosity, compulsion, doesn't matter. I had to see. So I went in. Room was freezing cold. Window was open, even though I don't remember opening it. The mirror stood tall in the corner, covered in dust. Looked like no one had touched it in years. I stepped in front of it. My reflection looked wrong. I know that sounds vague, but let me try to explain. It was me, yeah, but slightly off. Like someone was wearing my skin, but didn't know how to animate it right. My reflection was smiling again. That same stretched smile from the photo. But I wasn't smiling. I was crying. I lifted my hand. My reflection didn't. It just stood there, grinning. And then its mouth opened. Wider and wider, until its jaw snapped down and dislocated, hanging open like a broken puppet. And inside its mouth was another face. Not human. No eyes. Just holes. A mouth full of glass shards. Skin so white it looked like bone. And I swear to God, I heard it growl. I turned and smashed the mirror with a lamp. Shards went everywhere. I sliced my hand wide open. Didn't even feel it. I just kept smashing until there was nothing but glass dust left on the carpet. I started sleeping in my car after that. I left the house completely. I parked behind an old laundromat and just stayed there for a week. Barely ate. Barely moved. That's when Ron showed up again. Middle of the night. He just knocked on the driver's side window, like it was normal. I damn near stabbed him with my keys. I rolled the window down just an inch, and he leaned in, all calm, like he hadn't been part of the reason I was losing my mind. He looked even worse than before. Thin, gaunt, pale, eyes sunken. He looked like a body that hadn't realized it was dead yet. And then he said this: "It's almost time. He's growing in you now. That's why the bleeding started." I asked him what the hell he was talking about. He just stared, grinned. "You brought the box home. That's all he needed." And then he backed away, just vanished into the dark, like he was never there. That night, I had the worst dream of my life. I was back in the cabin basement, strapped to the table. But this time, my mom was standing over me, her face half melted, one eye missing. She leaned down real slow and whispered, "You're going to feel what I felt. You're going to give what I gave." And then something started crawling out of my stomach. If you've made it this far, I'm guessing you're expecting some kind of resolution, some plan, maybe even some heroic shit, like I went back to the cabin and burned it to the ground. No, that's not what this is. This part isn't about surviving. This part's about realizing it's already too late. I didn't want to go back. I fought it. I ignored the messages. I blocked the emails. I stopped answering the calls. I even had a friend stay with me for a few nights. He left after one, said he kept waking up in the guest room to the sound of chewing. Thought maybe I had rats. Then he said he saw something under the bed. Not a rat, something pale and long, with ribs like fingers and a spine that bent the wrong way. He didn't even grab his shoes, just left. That was 4 days ago. Since then, it's gotten worse. I don't mean mentally. I mean physically. I'm changing. It started with the dreams again. Always the same. The cabin, my mom on the table, me standing in the corner, watching, and that thing watching me. I always wake up soaked in sweat, heart hammering, like I ran a marathon. But a few nights ago, I woke up to something wet, something crawling under my skin. At first, I thought it was just that sleep paralysis hallucination shit. I couldn't move, couldn't scream, and I felt this pulsing in my stomach, like something was squirming inside me. It only lasted maybe 30 seconds, but when I finally sat up and turned on the light, my shirt was soaked. Not with sweat, with blood. I checked every inch of my skin. No cuts, no wounds, just a trail of blood that started at my navel and ran up my chest like someone had drawn a line. I threw the shirt away, scrubbed my body raw in the shower, and told myself it was a dream. Until it happened again. 2 nights later. Only this time, there was a cut right below my ribcage. Just one, maybe 2 inches long. Not deep, but fresh, clean, surgical. I didn't make it. And there was something under the skin there, something I could feel, like a tiny heartbeat that didn't match my own. That's when I knew I had to go back to the cabin. I didn't make a big deal of it. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't want to risk anyone else getting pulled into this shit. I just packed a flashlight, a crowbar, my dad's old .38, and started driving. No music, no GPS, just the sound of tires on cracked asphalt and the voice in my head whispering, "You already know the way." I got there around midnight. The forest was completely silent. Not even wind. No birds, no crickets, just dead trees and dead air. The cabin looked worse than before, collapsed in some parts, the roof sunken like a rotten skull. But the basement door was still there, wide open, like it had been waiting. I don't know why I went down those steps. Part of me thought maybe I could end it. Maybe I'd find answers, closure. But deep down, I think I knew I was walking into something I wouldn't come back from. The basement was colder than last time. The air was thick, heavy. The smell was worse, like wet rot and sulfur and something metallic, like pennies soaked in piss. My flashlight barely cut through the dark. Everything was still there. The table, the candles, the symbols. But there was something new this time. The wall across from me had something smeared on it in what looked like dried blood. 4 words. "He is inside you." I dropped the flashlight. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely breathe. That's when I heard it. A heartbeat. Not mine. Deeper. Heavier. Coming from the table. No, coming from under the table. I aimed the flashlight down and saw it. A hole in the ground, about the size of a manhole, carved into the stone floor. There were teeth around the rim of it. Real ones. Human, animal, I don't even know. Just embedded into the stone, like decorations. And it was breathing. I know how that sounds, but I'm not lying. The hole was fucking breathing, expanding, contracting, like a lung, like it was alive. I should have run. I should have left. But instead, I stepped closer. That's when I heard my mom. Her voice, clear as day, from inside the hole. "Don't let him out. Don't let him wear you." I dropped to my knees. I don't know why. I just did. And I looked in. There was something down there. A shape. Shifting. Watching. It opened its eyes. 2 of them. But they weren't eyes. Just holes. And inside those holes were more holes. An endless spiral going deeper and deeper. And I saw myself inside them. Not like a reflection. Not like a hallucination. I saw myself down there, strapped to the table, my stomach open, my insides moving like they had minds of their own. My mom was beside me, holding my hand, crying, but her tears were made of ash. Then it spoke, not with a voice, with a feeling, like it was crawling into my thoughts. "You were always meant to finish what she started." I fell backward, crawled away like an animal. I must have blacked out, because next thing I remember, I was outside. It was morning. My car door was open, keys still in the ignition, radio blaring static. And carved into the driver's seat, deep into the leather, were the words, "5 days left." I checked my stomach when I got home. The cut was wider. Something was moving underneath it. A few days ago, I thought I still had time. Not much, but some. Enough to run, maybe. Enough to hide. Enough to try something desperate. I was wrong. The messages started first. Not on my phone. I threw that thing into a river. But through random devices. My laptop. The TV. Even the smart fridge I never wanted in the first place. Every screen said the same thing. "You are marked." Sometimes the words flashed only for a second. Sometimes they lingered. Once, my TV turned on by itself in the middle of the night, showing a live feed of my driveway. Someone was standing there, just standing, facing my house, not moving. I didn't sleep after that. I boarded up the windows. I pushed furniture against the doors. I stayed awake for 3 days straight, living off stale cereal and coffee that tasted like it was brewed in hell. But the weirdest thing wasn't the messages. It was the silence. The house felt held, like the air was being pressed down, and the walls were listening. Every sound felt wrong. Every shadow lasted too long. And then, yesterday, around 4 a.m., the boards on the back door shifted. Not broke, not smashed. Shifted, like someone gently pushed them aside with their fingers. I grabbed my dad's .38 and hid in the laundry room. I don't even remember moving there. It was like my body acted on instinct. Hide, breathe, wait. Footsteps walked through my kitchen, slow, calm, like they owned the place. Then more footsteps. 2, 3, 4. No whispers, no threats. Just the steady rhythm of people who knew I had nowhere left to run. One of them stopped directly outside the laundry room door. I could hear breathing, not heavy, patient, like whoever was out there knew I was scared enough to freeze in place. Then, a familiar voice. "Open the door. It's time." Uncle Ron. I hadn't seen him since the night in the parking lot, but his voice was the same, flat, empty, almost bored. Like this was just a chore he didn't want to do. My hand tightened around the gun, but deep down, I knew it wouldn't matter. Guns don't do anything against people who don't fear dying. People who believe their God is waiting on the other side. The handle started turning. Not fast. Not forced. Just inevitable. Something in me snapped. I bolted through the adjacent door into the garage, jumped into my car, and peeled out so fast I almost took the garage door with me. I drove without direction, without a plan, just pure adrenaline pushing me down highways I didn't recognize. They followed. I didn't see them at first, but I felt them. That pressure behind me, like eyes drilling into the back of my skull. Then, at a stoplight around dawn, I saw a dark SUV pull up behind me. No license plate. 3 silhouettes inside. Motionless. I ran the light. They followed. I turned off the highway. They followed. I cut through an empty construction site. They followed. It wasn't a chase. They weren't rushing. They were just tracking, keeping pace, as if they didn't need to catch me yet, as if they already knew where I'd end up. And they were right, because eventually, without even thinking, I ended up right back where everything started. The road that leads to the cabin. Except this time, I didn't turn into the driveway. This time, I drove past it, parked my car deep in the trees, and started typing this on my laptop, using the last bit of battery I have. I can hear them out there, moving between the trees, branches snapping in slow, steady rhythm. They're close now. I don't think they're going to drag me anywhere. I don't think they need the table in the basement. I don't think they even need the cabin anymore. I think the thing they serve, whatever hollow, hungry thing it is, wants something simpler. Silence. Obedience. A witness. I was never supposed to tell this story. I was never supposed to see those videos. I was never supposed to hear my mom's voice again. So if you're reading this, if this file ends up online somehow, if someone finds my laptop lying in the leaves, understand something. They don't care that you're innocent. They don't care that you think you're safe. They don't care that you think this is fiction. All they care about is that the story keeps moving. My flashlight just went out. Someone is walking toward me. More than one. I can hear them breathing. I think, This is where the file ends. No signature, no final sentence. Just a timestamp and the sound of leaves cracking in the background. And whatever you choose to do with this, just remember, they watch the ones who read it, too.